Hello everyone, welcome to another video. In today's video, I want to talk about 5 hidden features buried deep within the Sony a7 III's menus, plus 1 bonus feature. So technically, I'll be giving you 6 features that are not easily found on the Sony a7 III. But first things first, intro. If you're new to this channel, please consider subscribing. Your support will be greatly appreciated. So the first feature I want to talk about is eye autofocus, human autofocus, or even animal autofocus. So this feature was in a firmware that came out about April of 2019. So if your camera doesn't have it, I will go back and check that you have the most updated firmware. Human animal autofocus is so useful in helping you to keep focus, especially when you're filming a human, or you're tracking a face, or you're tracking an animal, or you're tracking your pet. And this is how you set it up on your camera. So to turn it on, you can go to the menu tab number 1, go to page number 6, and go under face, eye autofocus settings. I have my face, eye priority, and autofocus selected as on. If you're shooting a human, you will select human. There's also another cute little icon there for animal autofocus if you're shooting a pet. I also like to set this in my custom menus for easy access. So I like to go to tab number 2, page 8, where you select your custom function buttons. And I like to map my autofocus on button to this function. Go to page 3, AF on button. And to find eye autofocus, you go to page number 5, eye autofocus. Another thing to keep in mind is that you need to be in continuous autofocus for this to work properly. And as you can see, that little square green box tracks the front eye very well. If you're shooting a pet, you can set that to shoot an animal instead and track an animal's eye. And make sure you have face detection frame display on and animal eye display on if you want that little green tracker. Because I do not have a dog, I wasn't able to test this on a real pet, but you get the idea. It does a pretty good job at tracking the eye of the pet, even this one on my screen. If we're shooting a wild animal, like a lion, it will do a pretty good job at tracking it too. I have not tested this with every single animal out there, so you can use this at your own risk. But of course, it doesn't come without its flaws. It doesn't track about any animal, as you can see here. But in most cases, it will do the job. The second not so obvious or hidden feature on the Sony a7 III is crop mode or clear image zoom, which lets your camera zoom in up to 1.5 times if you're in crop mode, or up to 2 times if you're in clear image zoom shooting in HD. And this essentially means that your camera can zoom in with the current lens that you have and give you that extra reach without losing image quality. To access crop mode, you can go on tab number 1, page number 1, and turn it on. It will zoom in an extra 1.5 times. To access clear image zoom, you go to tab number 2, movie 1, and head over to page number 5, clear image zoom. This is the only option that keeps image quality as you zoom. So I've set up my clear image zoom as a custom button, the down button right here. So as I click it, I can zoom in, as you can see. You can zoom in up to 1.5 in 4K mode and up to 2 times in HD mode. I have also a more comprehensive video on clear image zoom and how you use it if you would like to check it out. The third not so obvious feature on the Sony a7 III is bright monitoring. If you're shooting at night or in a very dark environment, bright monitoring brightens your screen so you can frame up your shot. Essentially, what bright monitoring does is that it lowers the shutter speed in your monitor only, which lets more light in so you can see exactly what you're framing when you're in a very dark environment. So bright monitoring, it's a very tricky one to access. So as far as I know, it's nowhere to be found in the menus. You cannot set it as part of your function menu. And the only way to access it is to set it as a custom key in one of your buttons. So to do that, we can go to tab number 2 and head all the way to page 8. Under custom key, I'll set it to custom button number 3, C3. And bright monitoring is located in page 18, right here, bright monitoring. So I'll set it to custom key number 3. I've turned off all my lights, and by pressing custom key 3, which I have mapped to bright monitoring, you'll see that the screen brightens up a little bit so that I can see and frame my shot in the dark, which is pretty cool. And that little icon here means that bright monitoring is turned on. One thing that I found is that bright monitoring does not work with autofocus. So you have to set your autofocus to manual, and then bright monitoring will work. I bet you didn't know that one. The fourth feature I want to talk about today is horizon level. The horizon level lets you adjust for horizon, so you know that your camera is perfectly balanced and it's not tilted to one side. Just another useful feature to have if you're shooting in uneven terrain. So to access your horizon level indicator, you have to go to tab number 2, page 6, under DISP button. We'll go to monitor and make sure your level is selected. Once that's done, you can press on DISP display, toggle until you find your levels. The fifth feature that I want to talk about is center lock on autofocus, which is another useful way to track focus on your subject. Even if your subject leaves the frame for a little bit amount of time, once it comes back in, your camera will do its best to try to lock onto that focus again. So to access it, you can go on tab number 1 and go to page 6, center lock on autofocus. You can turn it on. And once you have your subject tracked, you press the button and the tracker will track me. And even if I go out of frame, the camera will try its best to track me back and keep me in focus. And I also like to set that as a custom button as well. And I like to set it to my center button, center lock on autofocus. And the bonus feature that I wanted to talk about today is the secret hidden menu, as if Sony didn't already have enough hidden menus. This last hidden menu can only be accessed when you're in photo mode. If you're in photo mode and you toggle over your DISP button, at some point you reach a menu like this, where you have more information about your exposure, your shutter speed, your aperture, exposure compensation, among other information. And once you're here, you can press the FN function button and bam, you can access all of these features over here. You can have quick access to all of these features here that may not be mapped in your custom menus. So you can access your shooting mode, you can access your metering, your white balance, your flash mode, your focus mode, your focus area mode, your picture profiles, autofocus, face, eye, priority autofocus, and even how you want to prioritize your recording to your SD card slots. Or if you want to quickly change your photo settings from RAW to JPEG, or to shoot both RAW and JPEG and so forth. You can even have access to your exposure compensation here and dial in the amount that you wish. You can even adjust the size of your image, of your JPEG image if you're shooting in JPEG. These are just some of the very few features that the Sony a7 III has, and there's many, many more and that I'm yet still to discover. So if there's another feature, hidden feature that you know of, please let me know in the comments below. I'll be very happy to hear about it. If you found this video useful, please consider subscribing. I'll be making weekly videos about filmmaking, video editing, tutorials, and gear review. So thanks for watching, guys, and until next time.